There's a certain kind of person who moves through life like an island, not cold, not cruel, but distant in a way that feels deliberate. They handle everything alone. They smile when someone offers help, then quietly decline. They build their world with their own hands, their own strength, their own silence. And when you ask them why, they say the same thing. I'm fine on my own. I don't need anyone. But if you listen closely, beneath that certainty, there's something else trembling, something that sounds less like freedom and more like fear. Independence is beautiful when it's chosen, when it comes from strength, from wholeness, from a quiet trust in your own capacity to exist. But for some, independence wasn't a choice. It was survival. A strategy learned early in rooms where help never came, where asking meant disappointment, where needing anything made you a burden. So they stopped asking. They stopped reaching. They built walls so high that eventually they forgot they were living inside them. Psychologists call this avoidant attachment, a pattern formed in childhood when caregivers were inconsistent, unavailable, or emotionally distant. The child learns a brutal lesson. Dependence equals pain. Safety lives in self-reliance, so they adapt. They learn to carry their own weight, soothe their own fears, solve their own problems. And over time, this becomes more than a habit. It becomes identity. I am the one who doesn't need. I am strong because I stand alone. But here's the truth. No one tells you. Independence born from fear is not freedom. It's a cage painted gold. You wear it proudly, convinced you've mastered life, while inside, something quiet aches. Because humans are not designed for isolation. We are wired for connection, for touch, for the steady reassurance of another's presence. And when you deny that need long enough, it doesn't disappear. It just goes underground, showing up as emotional numbness, as chronic exhaustion, as the strange, hollow feeling that follows even your proudest achievements. If this perspective resonates, you can support the video by liking it. You see it in the small patterns. The person who never asks for a ride, even when their car breaks down. The one who handles every crisis alone, then casually mentions it weeks later like it was nothing. The friend who listens to everyone's problems but never shares their own. They've mastered the art of being there without ever truly arriving. Present but protected, helpful but hidden, always giving, never receiving, because receiving feels like weakness. Neuroscience reveals why this pattern persists. The brain, shaped by early experiences, builds neural pathways around survival strategies. When isolation kept you safe as a child, your amygdala, the brain's fear center, learns to associate closeness with danger. Even years later, when someone offers genuine care, your nervous system reacts. Heart rate increases, muscles tense. The body prepares for betrayal before love even has a chance to land. So you pull away, not because you want to, but because your biology is still protecting the child who once learned that closeness costs too much. Comment alone if this describes your experience. There's a hidden cost to this kind of independence. Relationships become transactional. You measure every interaction, calculating what you give versus what you take, terrified of tipping the scale toward need. You keep score even when no one else is counting. You stay in control by staying surface level, offering just enough warmth to seem connected while keeping your deeper self locked away. And when someone gets too close, when they start to see the cracks, you find reasons to leave, not dramatically, just quietly. distance disguised as boundaries, self-protection disguised as strength. This pattern doesn't only affect romantic relationships, it touches everything. Friendships feel fragile because vulnerability feels dangerous. Career success feels empty because you never let anyone celebrate with you. Even joy gets filtered through the lens of independence. You achieve something remarkable, and instead of sharing the moment, you file it away like a private victory no one else could understand. Because somewhere deep down, you've learned that happiness shared is happiness that can be taken away. The paradox is heartbreaking. The very thing you do to protect yourself, the walls, the self-reliance, the refusal to need, becomes the thing that isolates you most. You think you're safe, but you're alone. You think you're strong, but you're exhausted. You think you're free, but you're trapped in a loop of self-sufficiency that allows no rest, no tenderness, no moment where you can simply be held without having to hold yourself together first. Type YES if this helped you understand something about yourself. But here's what changes everything. Recognition. The moment you see the pattern clearly, not as strength, but as survival, something shifts. You begin to notice how often you say, "I'm fine," when you're not. How quickly you redirect attention away from your own pain. How uncomfortable you feel when someone simply sits with you, asking nothing, offering presence instead of solutions. That discomfort is not weakness. It's your nervous system encountering something it was never taught to trust. Safety without condition. Healing doesn't mean abandoning independence. It means learning the difference between independence that empowers and independence that isolates. True strength is not refusing help. It's knowing when to ask for it. Real freedom is not needing no one. It's choosing connection without fearing annihilation. The goal is not dependence, but interdependence. The ability to stand on your own and still reach for another's hand when the ground feels unsteady. Research on attachment repair shows that the brain remains plastic throughout life. Old patterns can soften, new pathways can form. Every time you let someone help you, even in small ways, you teach your nervous system a different story. You prove to the child inside that closeness doesn't always end in pain, that trust, though risky, is not always betrayed, that being seen, truly seen, is not the same as being abandoned. If someone you know might benefit from this, feel free to share it. Start small. Let someone carry a bag for you. Accept a compliment without deflecting. Share a struggle before it's resolved. These moments feel uncomfortable because they challenge the old code. But discomfort is not danger, it's growth. It's the slow unlearning of a survival strategy that once kept you safe but now keeps you small. The people who confuse independence with safety often carry an unspoken belief that if they need nothing from anyone, they can never be disappointed. But the opposite is also true. If you need nothing from anyone, you can never be deeply known. And being unknown, no matter how safe it feels, is its own kind of loneliness. If this gave you clarity, comment walls below. There's a quiet courage in admitting you're tired of standing alone, in recognizing that the walls you built to survive are now the walls keeping you from truly living. Independence is not the enemy, but when it becomes the only language your heart knows, it stops being freedom and starts being exile. True transformation happens when you stop equating vulnerability with weakness and start seeing it as the bridge back to yourself. When you realize that asking for help is not a failure of strength, but an act of trust. When you understand that the deepest safety is not found in isolation, but in connection that doesn't demand you disappear to deserve it. So, if you've spent your life believing that needing no one makes you strong, maybe it's time to ask a different question. What would it feel like to be strong enough to need, to be whole enough to let someone in, to be safe enough to stop protecting yourself from the very connection your soul has been quietly craving all along? If this resonated with you, take a moment to like the video, and I want to ask you something. What's one small way you could let someone support you this week? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're ready to explore more perspectives on the hidden patterns that shape how we live and love, subscribe to this channel. Every video is designed to help you see yourself and others with more clarity, compassion, and understanding. Because awareness is not just knowledge, it's the first step toward freedom.